Hi. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, when I was working with the at-risk kids, it was about 97 through I think 98. It was a good long time. And again, as I told you, I was kind of an alternate. I finally got dialed in enough to where they started using me a little bit more. And the kids would come in, I think a couple times a week, maybe more than that. Gosh, I think it was actually three times a week, possibly four. Anyway, um, they would bring us packets of the kids, and we would comb over those packets, and that was what shaped our topics for the day for that particular group. Every group was different, but the topics revolved amongst us, and there was like 12 or 11 of us. And some of our stories were pretty hardcore, especially our personal histories relating to our crime. There was one guy that was in it, such a good guy. His name was Jeremy Broadhead. He came into prison when he was 14 years old, and because he had shot and killed his dad, and had some mental stuff going on there, and he went to St. Anthony's, which is basically a holding spot for juveniles, so that when they do turn of age, then they go into the prison setting. And so I met Jeremy up there, and he had a really strong personal history with talking about how how his road led up to that day, and kind of what his life looked like, and everything like that. And so kids really took to him and related to him. I was, as you guys know, 18, and so sort of a same kind of story where people related because I was so young, and these were young people coming in from the ages of like 12 to I think it was 20. Um, and so we would revolve our education in um, those packets. We would let those direct us on talking about drugs and alcohol topics, 20-minute topics, gangs, friends versus family, because we were always choosing our friends over our family, uh, education, obviously, uh, how to deal with peer pressure, and then being alone, talking about our crime. We just covered so many different areas because we only had these kids for the day, and we really wanted to make an impact. We wanted to say something that would trigger them. And I'm not saying that these kids were at risk. I'm saying that these kids were small town, small community, and didn't have a lot of motivation or direction. And the teachers would tell us, hey, they're kind of blowing it. And so we were trying to discover what could we do to spark that kind of motivation in them, inspire them to say, I think I'm done doing that. I think I'm going to focus on this because it's going to get me over there. And I want to be over there. So we would definitely talk to them about all kinds of things. And we would actually get matched up with one or two sometimes of the kids because they really did kind of match our personalities. And we would sit down with them at lunch. But before that, we would go on tours throughout the prison. We would go to the pods. We would go to the gym, the hobbycraft area. And for those of you who didn't know, hobbycraft area is where we get to purchase and do certain hobby crafts. There was like making belt buckles and wood carving, and I airbrushed, etching, and there's all kinds of stuff. And so on those topics, we would just talk about how much talent is lost for just stupid choices. And even though we're doing our thing in prison, we should be out there making money. And we really try to encourage them to find their path and what is it they're good at. We would talk to them about sports. There's guys that were in prison that had full scholarships to colleges, and that they had NFL teams scouting them out at a young age, and they're in prison. So we'd really talk to them a lot about that, and we get into a little bit about what's going on in their homes and stuff, because that's important. Because no matter what I tell them or how I inspire them, if you're going back into the same exact environment and it's a hostile environment riddled with drugs and alcohol and all that stuff that we're trying to like figure out how to combat, well, that's a problem. We all know because we were there at some point in time. So what we wound up doing though is we'd take them through these little areas through the prison, and heck, we'd scare the hell out of them on the tier. That was funny. Um, in fact, it was crazy too, because you'd have boys and girls both, and when we get our tier, it was an honor tier. So when we get on our tier, they're all locked in their cells and stuff, and they would start pounding on their doors and hooting and hollering and making all kinds of fuss. And these kids are just like, what the hell? They were freaking out. You could tell. And one of the things we would do is kind of funny, but so we get keys to our cells, just a key, just a little turnkey. And I would be like, hey, so everything I own in the world is in that cell. This key means everything. My photos of my family, letters from my girl, just everything, man. Here, go ahead and check it out. And I give it to some dude, some youngster, and I'd go about my topic and start talking and stuff like that. And one of the other dudes from Project Tomorrow would come up and be like, here, man, let me see that. And so the kid would give it up. And then we would be about ready to, okay, guys, so we're going to wrap it up now, and we're going to go ahead and take a tour onto the, throughout the facility. Oh, real quick, let me see that key. And the kid would be like, oh, no, I gave it to him. And then that dude, Terry, would be like, you freaking telling on me right now? And the kid would be like, what? It was like, and I said, listen, dude, I don't care what you got to do. That's my key to my life. Go get my fucking key. And so he would walk up to Terry and be like, hey, man, I need that key. And Terry would be like, what are you going to give me? I don't have anything. I know what you can give me. How about give me your shoes? So the kid would take off his shoes, and we would make somebody else hold the shoes, and he'd walk through the prison without his shoes on. The point of that was to show him that there's always some sort of game going on inside the walls, and how easily it is to just walk right into a train wreck, and then that's your life. Ta-da! And so he was the guy always walking around in his socks. And one of the dudes, it was funny too, because the guys on the pod, you know, there was one or two guys that we really liked. They were really good guys, and I mean really good guys. But they would play it off. And when they were hooting and hollering and all that stuff, we would tell the girls, I'd say, hey, some of these guys are never getting out of prison. So who do you think they're yelling at? And the boys were like, what? Like, yeah, they're counting on you coming in here and joining them and being their cellie. That's who they're yelling at, bud. And you could just see them freak out. It's a known fact that you may not remember 90% of what I say, but I promise you, when you walk out of that situation, you'll always remember what you felt. And if it's terror, if it's a come to Jesus, well, then I suppose we did our job, didn't we? So we would take them, like I said, we'd take them throughout the facility and stuff, and we would show them, you know, the weight room. We'd do some more stuff and show them the hole, which is segregation. And I think that you know, when we got back and we did the lunch and we sat down, we could really kind of de-escalate because they're freaking out. And we would really bring it down a couple notches and just sort of, all right, man, so I appreciate the fact that that kind of sucks, I know. But man, there's a reason why we're talking to you guys about this, because it's really important that you understand is that those shoes that you're walking in, those are ours. We've been in those. And we get this. And we would just lay out this really, I guess, game plan of how to get them on track with what they want to do. And if we didn't have the answers, we'd help them find it. So we did that for a couple of years. And I'd say all in all, probably worked with about 2,000 kids. It was funny too, because at the end of the day, we would do a thing called the sharing circle. Sharing circle was great because you would circle up with all the kids and all the team members, and it was pretty good, solid circle, and everyone had a chance to talk. There was no time limit, and sometimes it took a good solid hour, an hour and a half. And it was funny because it was always, the kids would always say, because we'd ask them, what'd you get from the day? What'd you learn from the day? I just learned that you guys are really great. Stop. Let me just cut you off there. Whoever the MC was for the day would tell them this. Always remember that there's a reason why you lock your doors at night or even during the day. Your car doors, your house doors. There's a reason why you're always, making sure that you're safe. It's because of people like us. So we're not the guys you look up to. And then we would turn to the teachers and the moms and the dads and the people that wanted to take the time to come in and sort of show these guys that they care enough. We would tell them, it's those guys, those are the ones you need to look up to, because they're the ones that are fighting for your future, fighting for you now. It ain't us. All we're waiting for you to do is to come in here and be our cellies. But we're hoping that you don't, because we do not want mom and dad's job to end and take that over. We just don't. But we will. So we would do that sharing circle, and we would really talk to them about, we just want you guys to do good. We don't want you guys to, we want to put the Department of Corrections out of business. And then it was the private facility, but they got the point. Then they would leave, and they could write us letters through the counselor on how they're doing as a progress report and stuff. And it was pretty rewarding. Overall, I'd say that about 2,000 kids. I mean, and that's a solid number. And it was a really genuine step towards doing the things that I wanted to always do, which is have conversations about what I wish I would have done differently, because it was clear on what I did wrong. It took a while to figure out how I had so many different options and better options that I just couldn't see. And I'll talk to you guys about that later, because when I started doing some really hardcore work, man, I found out so much stuff, and it was rough. It was rough. So in talking to you a little bit more about the journey that I had, I think that it's important that you guys see that that's really was the launching point towards me wanting to do something with myself. And where I really wanted to say, I can give back, I can add value by sharing my story, being vulnerable, and not worried about how I look, not worried about if you like me, only wanting to give what I had away, because at the end of the day, I'm not taking it with me. And there's this stupid poster that I had for so long, and it was a picture of the ocean, and there was this oil tanker that had capsized, and its whole butt end sticking out of the water, and the phrase was, it could be that your life is only to serve as a warning to others. I'm okay with that. And so that's why I did those, working with the kids and did some other things. And again, I'll tell you guys about that. It's good, because I don't need the stage. I don't need that. I need to give these stories so that somebody can be like, you know what? I have a nephew. Don't we all? Because we want the kids and the youngsters and everybody. We want everybody to be the best version of themselves. And sometimes it takes a violent jar to really shake us into that kind of awakening, that epiphany. Because we know that we're worth so much and we have so much to offer. I mean, it took me a long time to figure that out, but so anyway, I will do some more of these in the next couple days. Sorry, it's taken me a second. I do appreciate you guys and the time. I try to knock these down to 15 minutes. Again, I tell you, subscribe, pass these along, share them. I need feedback and I need understanding that I'm on the right track. I'll just keep doing them, and hopefully they're helping you guys out. Meanwhile, I do wish you well, and I do appreciate your time, as always. Have a good day.